Our next guest is someone that I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Nick from Ping is coming in. He was on stage last week, Thursday, I believe, if I'm not wrong. I've watched his pitch. It's incredible. Nick, how are we?
Hear me?
I can absolutely hear you. I was just giving you this wonderful intro about the way that you've presented on stage
You're
and
way
on stage.
that's it all. You're way too kind, man. I need to apologize to you and all your listeners in advance. I actually cracked my tooth this morning,
Oh,
so I sound a bit like Sylvester Stallone right now, so it kind of hurts to talk,
well, he
but
did.
it's
He did
fine.
go on a generational run of movies and is worth like a couple 100 million now, if not a probably billion, based on the fact of his investments. So, like, I think it's a good start.
No, I do too. I'm manifesting the fact that I'm following the great man's track, but it's cool. Live stream with you at 1 and a sort of emergency dentist at 2:30. Day in the life of an Eat Pink founder, right? Good
Day in the life.
chaos all
I'm
around.
just gonna use that as a title. Nick, I've been definitely looking forward to this since our conversation, dude. I'm just gonna get straight into it. Like, why are we doing ready meals?
Honestly, the question you have to ask yourself is why are you not doing ready meals, right? Look, we're as a sort of as a collective society right now, what is the most important thing to you? It's time, right? You want time during the week to go see your friends, to go to that yoga class, to go to the gym, to go just do whatever you want. And the biggest sort of time drain that you have is cooking. Like a bunch of, I think there was a stat that came out. Each person spends about 30 to 45 minutes per day cooking. Now you times that by seven, you times that by a couple of meals. That's a sizable amount of sort of work hours during the week that you're just doing for something that most of the time people aren't good at and quite frankly, they don't like. So I ask you, why are you not wanting to free up your time to sort of get convenience in and get good sort of quick nutritious food and just free up your schedule to do something better?
Is it deeply difficult building in this space just because it's so heavily saturated, or have you found a lens and a little bit of alpha within the context of all of this?
I think it definitely is. I think you need to find your niche and you need to find a compelling product offering that offers a differentiated outcome to your customers. And I think the way that we've done that is through tech enablement. It's no secret that we use robotics. We're heavily reliant on machine learning, and we love using a little bit deterministic AI to scale up our recipe loads up and down. And that in itself, that not only leads to sort of margin differential from a sort of company perspective, that leads to a more consistent customer outcome. The customer tastes the same type of chicken week in, week out from cohort 1 all the way to cohort 39, no matter the order load, because ingredients don't scale arithmetically once sort of food orders increase. But they're able to get the same tasting chicken because hey, we utilize tech to make sure that they do, and that's been a great boon in building and as you say, an overly saturated space right now.
Help me understand why we're calling them cohorts. I've heard this phrase a couple of times that have begun to delve into the sort of robotics food space. Break it down for me.
Yeah. No, so cohort isn't actually a sort of robotic sort of terminology. It's actually based on sort of the idea that, in a subscription-based business model, you have different sort of cohorts and or subscribers that come in at a specific point in time, and that in that specific point in time, your business model is frozen at an X. But then as the business model evolves into the Y and the Z, you can see the incremental changes that are afforded onto your cohort, and you're able to analyze on a cohort by cohort basis, are the decisions that you're making as a business right? Is the tech that you're building working, et cetera, et cetera.
And I guess if you're using robotics within the context of all of this, it gives you optionality on the menu. So you can like rapidly iterate and make tweaks depending what customers like and don't like, rather than having to wait a consistent cycle of like just using up all of the ingredients, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell my investors this, and the true beauty of the Eat Ping business model, right, is that like if cohort 29 tells you my tossed lo mein is way too salty, which for the user out there, it's definitely not, go try. We can retool our entire throughput production facility in a 3-day basis by using LLMs and robotics to up and down sort of our software, our ingredient loads to make sure that cohort 30 does not have this problem. And it's that quick iteration on customer feedback that I pride myself on because, hey, at the end of the day, we are a consumer-based product and we are driving a consumer-based outcome. I pride myself on that because we're able to give them sort of something better in the market.
Why? When did the robotics play come in? Did it start up like I'm assuming Eping started as just the typical food business, and then when did you realize that the real business model was sitting behind that?
Yeah, look, I think it came in at quite early at the start. As you
Oh, so
said,
you
I think
actually
all
knew this
these.
coming in that like, oh, this is going to be the future. We're going to build for that.
I knew that robotics were part of the
Wow.
equation. I
Okay.
did not know how far down the line that we would have
Clear.
gone to that extent of incorporating into our value chain. But no, I mean the entire reason, the whole genesis from Yiping was basically, hey, I think there's a gap in the market for sort of nutritious Asian food, but most importantly as well, I think there's a gap in the market for tech enablement in what is a very traditionally onerous and operationally complex business model.
Makes a lot of sense. Do you have a favorite type of robot? Do you build them in house or do you have to buy them off the shelf?
So that's not proprietary right now, actually. I will readily admit that. Our
But
robotics
over
sort
time,
of
it makes sense to
component.
become proprietary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you
One of my
become
favorite
vertically integrated in the context of F&B, consumer F&B.
Absolutely. And this is a belief system that I hold. You need to own your value chain because if you
Hmm.
don't, you're at the mercy of someone else and you can't control the customer outcome down to the T of how you want that.
This is
We
really
operate on a
interesting. I was having this conversation this morning with a very very large space company, or soon to be large space company, and they were with their CEO and founder, and he was like, "I am contrarian to this. I don't believe. I think we should be horizontal. We shouldn't be vertically integrated." And explain the proposition, but like explain to me why you believe principally you need to be vertically integrated.
I guess it's different for him. A space company, your end user is not a consumer, right? We need to be vertically integrated because, my end user is a customer that's paying, and I want to be able to control how they're getting their outcome. And the only way to do that is to have direct control over every single part of the process. Now, people can argue that from a cost perspective, sometimes it makes more sense to white label things. I will not deny that. But hey, I think that sometimes it's almost better to pay that extra sort of 2 to 3 percentage points to make sure your customer gets a better outcome because at the end of the day, they're happy, they come back and use your product more, everyone wins.
Okay, so here's what I like about the vertical integration model. I was where was I? I was listening to something this morning, right? I don't know what it was, but it was something that spurred this thought in coming into this conversation. If we take being vertically integrated as I'm going to
Yeah.
own the entire value chain, and in a way of building distribution across the market, you want to basically race to zero. If you own the entire value chain, you own the robots, you own the food, you own the distribution, you own the media, you have this opportunity to drive costs down to zero or as close to zero as humanly possible, which means that customers are always going to pick the low cost option, which in your case is you. We've lost Lick for a hot second. He'll be back very, very shortly. Nick, are you still with us? Nick will be with us. Nick will be with us. I was just explaining. I think it was the latest Cheeky Pint episode with the D1 Capital investor. He was explaining Elon's way of like why Elon is an underrated entrepreneur in business, like building business models, not just an incredible inventor. And in this case, what he was suggesting was because he is entirely vertically integrated and his goal in launch capabilities and SpaceX is to drive down the cost considerably, he will always be the low cost option. Like he will always try and be the low cost option. In the context of food, maybe that's not the right play. But if you try and drive costs down significantly by owning the entire value chain, you are as close to zero as humanly possible. And as consumers, you end up being able to optimize for price. Nick, we are back. I'm glad to say the
Yes, the
phone's
the
okay.
power the power shut down in my house right now, so we have no internet, but we still have a phone and an iPhone. Thank God
Wonderful.
for modern technology, right? God bless you, Steve
Exactly.
Jobs.
It's like thank God for Steve Jobs and Johnny
Shout
Ive.
out. Absolutely.
But yeah, look, talk to me. I want to understand the philosophy of why it's so deeply important, not just from an investor standpoint, but from a value add to consumer standpoint.
Right. So you're talking about the vertical chain, right?
Yes.
Honestly, like it just goes back to how you want to serve your customers, right? Do you want to be able to control down to your vision what sort of outcome the customer wants, or do you want to leave this up to chance? Because end of the day, man, if you're like super type A like me, I only want my product to be executed in a certain way. And I know that if I start outsourcing things, it's not going to really go to the standard that I want. I can kick, I can yell, I can scream, I can plead, I can be nice. But end of the day, if I do not control this, you are at the behest of a supplier. And you don't really want that, right? You want to be able to make sure your customer is getting that outcome that they want. And that is why I think, control the value chain is so integral at this point. The only part of the value chain that we do not control at this present time is third party logistics. Sometimes, I hate to say it, but DPD, you can't fight against that. But eventually one day, who knows, with the advancements of tech, maybe we'll be able to make a little push into this. But no, when it comes to an end product that you're serving to your customer, you need to own it because you're the only one that's going to be able to execute this better.
Talk to me about your roll up strategy or a little bit around that.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the thesis here is that, hey, if we're able to build like differential tech that's able to drive sort of margin outcomes, which it is, we're seeing a pretty strong margin outcome right now compared to the industry average. Why not look to scale better by looking to sort of acquire some of these legacy players that are great brands in and of itself, not naming any names, and ideally look to layer in your technology here and just build even faster defensibility because I think that's an interesting angle that that everyone should that's if you're operating in a very fragmented space and you have a tech differentiator right now, I think looking at the ability to acquire and build sort of inorganic scale, that's definitely something that any founding team should look at.
So do you look at that as like we're gonna buy share of mind while also growing Eat Ping?
Yeah, I see this as, like growing, eat, paying, and bolting on sort of offensive capabilities to be better.
I love that. It feels like such an like I think the word is offensive. The way that you talk about the business, it's like we are consistently
It's
on the
a
defensive. There is no defensive.
No, it's the military man in me. You can take the boy out of the infantry, but you can't take the infantry out of the boy. It's always the way I liken this. It is a march towards the outcome that we want to drive.
And how do you consistently make sure you are on track with that march, right? This is going to be a real jump, so bear with me. There
Mm.
is a new movie out. I think it's called The Long Walk, and it's these kids that are marching. I don't know a lot about it, but I saw the trailer. And when we had our first conversation, I thought a lot about like how the similarities of just put one foot, one step in front of the other, consistently show up, consistently
Oh
just
yeah.
keep driving, just keep driving, just keep driving. In the context of your cap table, how do you make
Mhm.
sure that that's stacked in the right direction so that you can consistently have a great group of people around you that can go on that long march with you?
I think before the cap table, the most important thing here is having a team
Right.
that can go on that long march with you. I'm very particular when it comes to hiring. I think people out there know my sort of hiring sort of
Tell me more.
requirements. It's wacky, it's a bit crazy. I only want the most intensive individuals that are willing to sort of go the extra mile because I think the vision that I want to build requires going the extra mile. Everyone that joins us knows that it's not a 9 to 5 job, but we're very upfront about that. If it's not for you, it's cool. It's not for you. But the ones that that are here know that it's akin to a very aggressive pace of growth that we need. And it's finding people that align to that vision and that are willing to build with you that you can surround yourself with and that's integral to make sure that you're keeping clear to what towards that sort of differential outcome that you want to build. And then I think having a cap table on top of that adds to that. If you have a great team right now, what you need is to find sort of investors in your network that can enable things and help you penetrate new networks that you don't. And I think one thing that I learned as being a second time founder is that, like there is a differential between dumb and smart money. Like a dumb money cap table is something that just doesn't help you enable an outcome. It doesn't help you get that unfair competitive advantage that every founder needs. Find your
Hmm.
unfair advantage. If there are any founders listening out there. And having the right people can open so many doors. And having the right people as well can also give you that sheen of sort of gravitas as a company, like, hey, if XYZ is backing Eat Ping, they know that it's not sort of a madhouse. Well, it is a madhouse, but
But it's
a
it's the
credible
type of
madhouse.
madhouse that we are. Yeah, it's a credible madhouse that we want to be a part of.
Exactly.
Do you put your investors through the same rigmarole? Of like we like
No,
take them
but
into
no,
get
but
them to.
I definitely have the same. I definitely had a requirement for all my investors, and everyone asked me during the sort of the angel round, like, what are you looking for? And I said, hey, it's a lonely world out there as a solo founder, which it really is, right? You don't have a co-founder bouncing things off.
Mhm.
I want sort of active investors to the point that, hey, I want to be able to, like, like ask you the tough questions and, get checked in place if I'm doing something really stupid. I want you to actively participate when I come to you with a sort of a strategic quagmire that I have. And thankfully, all of them have been great. All of them have been great. Some of them, I'm on a WhatsApp basis with some of them right now. I spam them every Wednesday when our building comes out. Sorry, sorry, Jeff, sorry, Al. But besides that, but no, they've been great. They've been great.
I love it. I want to talk a little bit about like why that is so important. Like I know we've touched on it briefly, but I just want to double click on it. Um, it's deeply lonely. You want people to bounce ideas off. But then I think there's also an element of like, I want those investors to consistently roll their investments in, right? So as we grow the business and as we scale, as we raise more capital, it's like I've got the same people on board that get this idea. I don't have to bring in any new money. It's like we're just rolling these investments in. They get a bigger share of the pie. You are consistently growing the company and maintaining your share, right?
Yeah. I think it differs in our context because we are only angels,
Right.
and I think we're in a very fortunate position right now where we are profitable, so we can recycle cash flow and look to sort of non-dilutive capital sources. But I think for any founder that is venture backed right now, you definitely want to pick your investor great. You definitely want to pick an investor that has sort of follow-on capability because as the rounds get more progressively larger, as the rounds go from like pre-seed to C to A, from what I understand from my founders out there, my fellow founders, is that the ability to have an existing investor to help you with that raise by virtue of follow-on capital and or sort of expertise helps you save half the time. Because fundraising, as everyone knows out here, is a brutal slog. That is the real death march because it takes away your focus from the business, and it's tiring. It's crushing. So having an investor already that's willing to follow you on from, let's say, pre-C to C to A, that is half the battle won. So yeah, it's definitely sort of a value add that everyone needs to consider when they pick their sort of bed partner, for lack of a better word.
What's deeply difficult about building Eat Ping right now? Is it just getting food in people's hands?
I think we have a lot of difficulties right now, but these are good problems to have. We're
Right.
scaling very fast, and there's always that scaling chaos. Um, I don't think anything's too crushing for us right now, thankfully, because thankfully I have a great team backing me and a great sort of investor stack to really lean into. So I think operational challenges pop up, but I think we're able to effectively firefight and triage quite
Okay.
well.
Okay. I want to go back to the point of like the fundraising aspect of this, of like it takes away from building the product, focusing on the company. Why did you do on stage then?
So I think it's always great to find the right investors, like I say,
Right.
right? Now you should as a founder, you should always be raising because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
should always be
Always
looking
consistently.
you should always be looking for a great investor that can come in and again, like going back to
Step
what I
change the
said,
business.
and give you that competitive advantage. Everyone needs a competitive advantage that they have against other founders. And I think OnStage has been a great platform to be able to find people aligned to my vision. After that, I've had like 15 inbound so far from great investors that I wouldn't have had access to. And it's always been good to see how you can take a strong cap table and augment it to make it even stronger.
Mhm.
Because like I said, offensive capability is all that we want here because the best offense is defense. So and that's what OnStage has given us the ability to get reach and to also show the world that hey, we're building something wacky, but we're also working. It's also working.
Why, like, you mentioned the military comment earlier. Why is offensive the best form of defense?
Because it forces you to be sort of proactive as opposed to reactive, which is
Right.
what is very key in a sort of early stage. Like you cannot be a reactive founder. You need to be a proactive founder. You need to be proactively understanding what your customer does not like. You need to proactively triage situations. You need to proactively address situations that are messed up to continue that sustained level of customer confidence. If you're defensive in an early stage, you are not exactly building in the right industry, which is fine, which is fine. There's some sort of I guess growth routes that require a more defensive approach. But I think if you want to build fast, offense is the best defense.
And so you play this game of just execute as fast as humanly possible. Let's just get out there and eat the market.
Yeah, I'm a fan of breaking shit fast and fixing shit faster.
Oh, I like that. I've never heard the other side of it.
Oh,
Like
really?
after the
Yeah.
comma and fixing shit faster.
Trademark Nick Singh just coined that term live. I don't know. Am I allowed to swear on this? I'm sorry
Yeah,
if I
you're
if I'm
absolutely
not.
allowed to.
Oh, fair enough.
No,
But yeah,
that's
no.
awesome. I
You
wanna
can break shit fast. but as long as you're very sort of upfront to your customers, and as long as you have great customer touch points, then it's excusable. You don't want to like give them a horrible experience to leave them hanging. That's
How
why
did
that's what I
you
mean by fixing shit faster.
how did you build great customer touch points to allow for that?
I WhatsApp my customers three to
Oh,
four
so you
hours a
you are
night.
in direct communication with them.
I am in direct communication, like, and I'm sure if there are any customers listening here, they'll get a text from me if they sign up saying thank you. I even write handwritten personal cards to every single new subscriber that gets their first box. It is probably something that will not scale in the next couple months because, God knows carpal tunnel is a real thing. But as of right now, the more intimate you can get with your customers, the more of a greater sort of relationship that you can build with them, and the more willing they are to tell you what is wrong so you can build better for your customers. Because end of the
Mhm.
day, that's what of being a founder is about, right? Building a good customer outcome. The business sort of growing to a unicorn is a side benefit. At
It's
the
just
end
a
of the day, you are
byproduct.
building a it's a byproduct of you building a great customer outcome. Built for the customer, not for the financial outcome, and everything will be fine.
If we're building for the customer and we're making sure that they've got the greatest food and they're eating the greatest food and they've got it and they get it uh within a good time, they're not waiting too long. It's warm, like it's not warm. It's delivered properly. There aren't any issues. It tastes great. Do we have to think that humans get taken out the loop? And what is your thinking around robotics long term? Does it just eat into the entire stack that you're building?
I don't think robotics, as of right now, at least in the next sort of 4 or 5 years, will take
Right.
over sort of the entire human element completely. It will reduce it significantly, but you do need a human to be able to sort of to help and augment sort of some outcomes, especially when it comes to volume cooking. I think moving towards a more automated solution um, will drive a better sort of consistent customer outcome, like what we've seen so far. And I think, again, going back to that principle that I have, like built for the customer, and I think that that is key in enabling a step change in the ready meal society.
Do you like the idea of like having figurines and humanoids just bouncing around your kitchen?
That's like iRobot level type shit, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen
To
what
be
there some of them are
honest,
able to do? Like
with the
I
one
think
with
it was a
Tesla, yeah, I've
yeah.
seen the Tesla ones. Those are
No,
cool.
no, no,
Those are
not
cool.
Tesla first gen, right? Tesla third gen, where they're walking around and it's the actual robot, not the
Yes,
people inside.
I think it'd be a great sort of cool sort of thing to show, but I think there are probably a lot more cost-effective solutions for non-humanoid robots as of right now for the radio industry. But no, I can't deny it. I definitely want one.
Yeah,
Like a robot butler, that'd be sick.
that would be absolutely awesome. I
That
mean,
would be awesome.
does that take away from your business model then? Because if every person can get access to low cost humanoids, you have something that can just make the food in your home
Um,
and you won't need to buy Eat Ping, or does the business model change at that point to,
I think we're
oh,
I
we're
think
going to
we're
sell them the
very
data sets?
I think we're a very far away from that outcome where everyone can afford a humanoid robot in the kitchen. Business models change all the time, so who knows where we'll be in 5 years. But I do know where we'll be is we will consistently be delivering a differentiated customer outcome because in and of itself, the DNA in ePing is built around that, built for the customer and built better.
Awesome. All right. As we get into the end game of this, and we're going to let you back to delivering the best food in the world, I love to ask founders who's on their Mount Rushmore of founders. For you, who are they?
Honestly, that's a great sort of question. I mean, some of the guys I met and girls I met on stage, rock solid.
Yeah, but like
I think
we're talking Mount Rushmore, yeah, of all time, right now.
Mount Rushmore.
So
That's correct. Okay,
anyone in
two.
history for
There are
Nick,
two. There are two.
okay,
First is definitely Lee Kuan Yew. It's actually Singapore's like first prime minister. I consider him the
the
founder because
man
he's
is
like the
incredible.
founder of Singapore. Like literally, like he took a
Rewrote what it
swamp.
means to build an absolute beast of a country.
Absolutely, he took a swamp fishing village to make us into an economic powerhouse
Yep.
that is
That
today.
punches
And
well above its weight.
well above its weight. I'm Singaporean and proud, even the 2 years in the military there. Um, so he is definitely the blueprint of a zero to like a hero story. I think, incorporating his level of execution and his strategic vision is actually like key. And if I could incorporate something like that in Eping, I'd be very grateful. That's the number one. I'd say probably that is the only sort of Mount Rushmore founder that I aspire to. Obviously, I think there are other great founders out there, but I think if that is probably the North Star of a founder that I built towards.
Okay, at least give me three more here. Don't just cut me off
Three
early.
more. Oh man. Okay. Oh, you're making it tough, aren't you? I think Elon, because what Elon said about, just going into a sleepy giant industry and just doing things better to build a differentiated customer outcome resonates very much to what we're doing right now. And that's all. I met you halfway. Like two out of
Okay,
four.
we can do 2 out of 4. That's nice and
We
easy.
can do 2 out of 4.
Why do you take a lot of inspiration from Elon in the context of the differentiated outcome? Because like yes, it is like heavily saturated. Yes, it is a gigantic sleepy market in the context of
Yeah.
food and beverage and like consumer food and beverage. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there is this sort of like iteration at speed that he does that is like slightly different because it's hardware. Do you
Yeah.
see a lot of similarities then? But
I
despite
think
that,
we're
sorry.
extremely fast. I think we're extremely fast compared to sort of our competitors. I think, that's just been evidenced by the fact that, we launched 9 months ago.
Right.
9 months ago, aside from our massive top line growth, which is super nice, I think what is even nicer than that is that we've also had 5 successive product launches. We've been able to launch products in direct reference to what customers have been asked for. And these have led to even better customer outcomes. So yeah, speed of iteration is definitely there with us.
You've launched 5 products.
Successive ones. We had our larger meals called the strength plan, so 50% more protein, 30%, sorry. We've had Sunday deliveries because people wanted to have their food on Sundays. We've had larger normal portions. We've had a full Korean menu. We revamped our breakfast range. We now have protein dim sum items. 35% off this week, guys. Please get your orders in. Um,
You got to send
and
me the
yeah,
code. We'll put it at the bottom of the video.
I will send the code, the discount code for you. Yeah, and we have so many other things cooking in the background right now. And this is just the customer facing product launches. We've had numerous successes or back end launches too. So yeah, it's our speed of iteration that
Can I
sets us
ask
apart.
before I let you go, the back end launches, what do those look like?
Yeah, sure. So I think, take our weekly menu, that's
Right.
actually generated by machine learning. So
Based
it's
off of
tweaked to
what?
my cohort data based on what customers like, based on their
Right.
preferences. And
And not
so
and
we
not just
can
not just noise on the web of like what people are asking for. It's actually just it's all just focused on the customer.
Exactly. It's a cohort based sort of machine learning algorithm that's built for the customers based on what the customers have told me. Again,
Wow.
that differentiated outcome that leads to a better solution for
And
the
that goes
customer.
back to the week to week. You can change the menu, make tweaks, and then just keep rolling it out.
How many changes every week? But yeah, absolutely.
That's insane. Nick, I can't wait to try the food at some point.
That I would love to send you a box.
I
Send me
would love that.
DM me DM me your deets and we'll get you a box.
We're just gonna eat it on stream. Dude, this has been an absolute
Love
pleasure. I
that.
can't wait to do a longer conversation with you and get you back on the stream.
Ah, me too, man. Let's do something in person. We can both share. We can break bread over eat ping.
Oh, sounds great, dude. Amazing. Speak to you soon.
Take care, brother.